4.3.10, describe the characteristics and applications of a collection. When we take a look at this point, what they refer to as a collection, characteristics containing similar elements. So it doesn't particularly talk about the collections classes that Java has available, ArrayList and LinkList. So this could well be an array, and they get back down here to talking about one-dimensional arrays. So let's make this, the point 10, be arrays, and then point 11 we'll get into teaching you how to use ArrayList, a pre-made class which has lots of pre-made methods, and LinkList. So describe the characteristics and applications of a collection. In other words, for now, for this one, the characteristics and applications of arrays. So what is an array? An array is a container which holds sometimes elements of different types, but in Java, elements of the same type. So if you wanted to contain or group 10 ints, or 10 strings, or 15 elements of a student class, then you use an array. We declare arrays one of two ways. Here's the old-fashioned way. I call it the old-fashioned way, but you still certainly can use it. Int array, so open close bracket like that. We'll say my first array is assigned any number of ints. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ints between braces. That is one way of declaring an int. Another way of declaring an int, in other words, declaring the package rather than the stuff that's inside the package, if we can put it that way. Maybe package isn't the right term, the container. So there we got the container's name and what's in the container, whereas here we'll say int. We're not going to put the things into the container yet, but we are going to define how big the container is, as we have to in the declaration of an array this way. So int array, another int array, is assigned new int array of x number of elements, let's say 7. And so this is the way that you read this declaration of the array. Int array, another int array, is assigned new int array of 7 elements. Actually, I'm going to make it less than that just so I can go through, and now I will put the 3 elements in their respective elements of the container. So there's the 0th element. I don't know. There's the first element, and the second element. Noting particularly that we do start numbering with the 0. So an array of 3 elements has element 0, 1, and 2. 3 in total, starting at 2. The last element's name or number is 1 less than the length. So up here we've got element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a 5-element array. The beauty of arrays, without getting into too many details at this point, is that you can work with the container rather than working with all the elements. So I can send that, if you at this point understand what sending parameters or arguments to another method is, we can send this to another method or another class, in fact. So since we have a set number, a definitive number of elements, we would want to use a for loop if we were working with this. So if I wanted to print out these elements of, or what's in the elements of the array, I'd use a for loop. If you missed that in the lesson not long before, for loops are for when you want to repeat something a definite number of times, whereas a while loop is when you're not sure of how many times you want to repeat something. But if I'm working with all the elements of an array, I know exactly how many elements there are, so I will use a for loop. We usually use I as the iterator, and that's where we get the I from, the loop control variable. I is less than, we could put 3, and maybe we will this first time through, but there's a better way to do it. I plus plus, and we'll sout the elements of the array. Another array I, right? Int I. Oh boy, 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 boy. How did I miss that one? Yep. So I starts at 0 as long as I is less than 3. I plus plus. So it's going to print out another int array 0, another int array 1, and another int array 2. And when I gets up to 3, well, 3 is not less than 3, so, and there is no 3. And that's why, I better do it first. That's why we shouldn't put a number here in case we make a mistake. Because there is one other thing that belongs to arrays, and that is something that keeps track of its length. So whatever the length is, even if I had defined this pages and pages of code up, and I forgot what the length was, I don't have to go look for that because this will return, in this case, 3. So, I mean, nothing will change when I run it. Same, we get all 3 elements of the array. And this works no different. You might be wondering, can we do the same thing here? Sure. So now it'll be those 5. There you go. Boy, after a couple of long lessons, I'm wondering if there's much more to say about arrays. Not really. That's how we use them most often, or how we work with them most often. And yeah, we're going to implement them here in a couple of videos, so that's it for this one.